for those who don't know us lovely faces, just like who you guys, just give a brief intro of like who you guys are, what is your background in college sports, and like what was your major back in college?
You want to go first?
Okay, so my name is Surin. I went to UCONN. I graduated last year. I majored in economics. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Economics? I'm not sure. I'm from Montreal, Canada, and I'm a pro track athlete.
They grow up so fast.
Right?
I'll try my best not to be profane for faith's sake. So my name's Nyanka. I also ran at UConn. I graduated undergrad in 2015, but I also did a year, I did grad school there as well. And my first year of grad school was covered by UConn athletics as well. I majored in English in undergrad, and I did my master's in public administration. And I ran mostly the 400. There were some dark days of 500 meter running as well. But primarily the 400, that was my event.
Awesome. And for those who don't know me, I am the host. Yeah, name's Faith. I think my name is somewhere if you like hover on the box. So I'm a fellow UConn person. Major was marketing. I did my first 2 years at Villanova, and then I transferred. Why are you shaking your head like I had some good times.
Just like your character, played yourself.
Okay, so yeah, I did 2 years. I was a Wildcat, and then I transferred to being a Husky. So yes, go Huskies. And the reason I wanted to do this panel is, one, there's just been a lot going on, especially for student athletes, especially with the pandemic. I mean, I honestly, you hear some crazy things in just like college sports, but everything just got shut, everything. So this is just a moment of like encouragement, but also this is definitely an opportunity for student athletes to really start learning more about themselves. I mean, on the college campus, we're always, athlete always kind of came first a lot of times. We wore the athlete on our shirts. So this is just us, the panelists, being able to just show ourselves holistically. So we're amazing, talented athletes, but we also, we're just role models, either on the team and just role models even after graduating. So it's really great to even have you guys here, and even Miss Batouly, who competed for UConn women's basketball. She just graduated with her master's, but I'll let her continue with the rest of her intro once she gets in. But that's pretty much the gist of it. So what have you guys been up to, like, since graduating? Because Kat, you're recent.
Yeah, I moved to France for training.
Okay.
I wanted to stay at UConn, but then the coaches, they left. They got other job opportunities, so I had to, I guess, move. So I've been living in France, and I had to come back because of the coronavirus. So now I'm just trying to work out. I started grad school, so that's what I'm doing right now.
What are you studying at grad school?
I'm trying to finish my MBA, or I just started, but it's tough.
Yeah, well, if there's ever downtime, it's now. So I think
That's
the
true.
right time. And I really think that the first year is always the hardest. Because like my first year, well, Faith knows there were dark days in that, like,
Really?
like I was like crying on the weekends. I was like on YouTube, like it was dark. So the first year is like truly the hardest, because the last year is kind of like, all right, I've been through the ringer, like just give me my degree.
Every day I'm just like, oh my God, like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Lots of YouTube, that's all I watched. And it was like a lot of math and stats and like,
Yeah.
I'm a writer, for God's sakes. Like I had to do like quantitative methods, and I'm like,
yes, that's what I'm doing right now.
YouTube was my best friend. So don't be discouraged. Like if you got to cry and drink some wine, I mean, you're not competing as hardly anymore. So now is the time. I'm telling you, now is the time.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, you're definitely not alone. That first year of grad school was
This stuff. I didn't think it was going to be that hard.
Yep.
Here I
So
am.
I have, since graduating, I'll go with my master's, moved to Jersey. I got a job that I'm still at in a nonprofit, which is centered on providing education equity for people of color across the country. I just got promoted, so yay. I enjoy it. I think there's a little bit more I could learn before I move on, but I definitely see myself doing a lot more and making a lot more money, probably in the next 2 years. I've really been working on my social media, like just trying to figure out a way to monetize my content. I think it's always nice to have 1 or 2 hustles, probably 4 or 5, if I'm being honest. I did write for magazines for a short while. I kind of gave up on that because I'm also a writer, and I prefer doing fiction writing. I struggled a bit last year, just being in a rut. I think part of it was doing something that is not really my passion, which was the magazine writing. So I think I'm just trying to figure out my path, and being more intentional and specific with what I spend my time doing, and trying to figure out ways to make more money, because you can never have too much money. And that's what I've been doing.
Get your hustle. I ain't even mad. And honestly, just finishing this book, like I remember people like coming at you, Nyanka, like, when's the book coming out? When's the book coming out?
Dream was just like literally just asked me that, and I was just like, if you don't off, like I'm in the middle of like trying to figure out what I want to do, like, and I think part of it is just like not necessarily a fear of failure, but like just not like something is just off about it, and I don't know if it's because I typically write dystopian and this one is more realistic fiction, but I just haven't gotten a grasp on the ending, and that's I'm like 48,000 words in, and I just can't write the ending. I don't know what it is. It's been like a year now, but I'm gonna get there. Like I'm gonna be in the shower one day, it's just gonna hit me. I'm gonna be like that's what it is. Like that's what I've been waiting for. But yeah.
It's gonna be the time when you just don't have like a pen or pencil. You're like, oh my God. And you're just like, where's my phone? Where's anything?
It's always in my hand. Trust me, it will get written. Like it will. Yeah.
All right, so we're just gonna hop straight into the questions. So, wait, Batouly, you messaged. Are you? Okay. Well, I want to introduce Batouly real quick. Batouly is in
yeah, I'm just walking to like another destination, and life is full of surprises. Life is really full of surprises, ladies. But we persist nonetheless. But I'm here. I'm present.
Woman on the move. I like it.
Okay.
All right, Batouly,
like
who are you?
Self intro.
Yes.
Absolutely. So my name is Batouly Camara. So sad to now say that I'm a UCONN women's basketball alum, finishing up my 2nd year of grad school. Funny, I actually did it in a year, but I always say 2nd year because I broke the semesters up into a year. Anyway, long story. That being said, the founder of Women and Kids Empowerment, a nonprofit that is geared towards empowering, educating, and I'm like losing my mind. Educating, empowering, and equipping young girls with sport and self-confidence skills throughout Guinea. We were global, but now we're focusing on Guinea-Conakry, where I'm a first gen Paris. And in addition to that, now a new author, so I'm super excited about that. The children's book, The Basketball Game on Wake Street, which highlights girls across diverse and unique abilities, and I'm super excited about that. And I'm so thankful for Faith and her mentorship throughout this process. So just a snippet.
So it's called Women and Kids Empowerment?
Yes, Women and Kids Empowerment. Our website is wake-academy.org. I could add the link below as well.
Okay. Yeah, because I just put the title of the title.
Yeah.
Right, so we have some track. Well, we have 2 tracks and we have basketball. And I know like team dynamics are really different depending on the sport, depending on the school, especially coming from 2 schools, even though Nyanka doesn't want to accept that I came from a different school.
Or Kat also was a transfer. So
I was a transfer too. Transfers all the way. Sometimes.
Oh yeah, we team transfers here.
Team transfer. Come on.
Yeah.
We just need to be better.
Just give me. She's the only OG Husky right here.
Okay, bleed blue,
We have to
baby.
do better.
So one of the things that really always concerns me with student athletes is like the relationship they have like on their team, the relationship they have with their coaches. Because we always want to focus, especially for track and field, we always want to focus on just the athlete and their success or their failure. But it really is a team effort, whether you are in an individual sport or not. So I just want to talk about, like, in terms of your coaches, who was like a really memorable coach for you guys?
Go ahead, kids.
Okay. Well, I mean, I only really had one college coach, which is Clive.
Oh, I meant like any age range.
Oh, in general?
Yeah, just in general.
I think all of my coaches were problematic in one way or the other. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, my high school coaches were crazy. My college coach was like, I feel like every coach is a little bit unhinged. Like, something is off with every single coach. Maybe I've just been blessed with mad geniuses. I don't know. But I think my high school coaches, even though I don't really speak to them as much, they were significant influences on teaching me track. I think a lot of the time coaches just tell you what to do, but my high school coaches really stressed, like, okay, like, we're doing this today for aerobic fitness. We're doing this today to increase your stride. We're doing this today to fix how you cycle your legs. This is what you have to do in order to do that, X, Y, and Z. I think that really enabled me when I came to college. Even though I struggled, I had a base, and I was able to do my own research, and I was able to ask questions that, even though my coach wasn't always happy with the questions I asked, right? Forced him, I think, to kind of understand me as an athlete, and to understand that telling me do what I say because I say it isn't good enough. And I think to some extent, a good coach should be able to teach an athlete, because your athlete isn't always going to have you. And I think an intelligent athlete, just as an intelligent person, the more you know, the better you are at executing something, right? Telling me to do high knees because they're high knees, okay. But if you tell me to do high knees because they're going to help my drive and they're going to help X, Y, and Z, then when I'm driving, I'm going to be thinking about doing high knees, and vice versa. So I think a good coach should be a good communicator. All of them aren't. Should be understanding and compassionate in their own way, right? Not everybody's a people person, but most importantly, I think a good coach should be a teacher. Like, they should teach you about your sport in all aspects, from the mental to the physical, and connecting everything together.
Right. That was everything. I have nothing to say.
Well, I mean, you could say who your favorite coach was, because I didn't really have an answer.
Well, for me, the best coach I've ever had was probably Coach Cooper, the coach of my senior year, just because, especially after my junior year, like, it was such a bad year for me. Like, I was just running 2 seconds slower than I did. Like, I gained, I think, like 10 pounds. Like, it was just terrible. And then Coach Cooper came in, and he was like really there for me mentally and physically. He would listen to my body. Like, if I came to practice, I was like, Coach Cooper, I'm not feeling good mentally. He was like, okay, take a couple days and I'll text you later. You know what I mean? And I feel like my first coach, when I got to UConn, like, he wouldn't really listen to what I had to say. It was more like, you do that just because I said so. And like Kizzy said, if I asked questions or anything like that, it was just like, not
brick
good.
wall.
We get frustrated. He would scream or stuff like that. So it's just like, I think a good coach is someone that listens to you and that tries to understand you as a person, and not just like, you need to do this because you need to score a point for us, or you need to do this because, I don't know. It's just someone that really listens to you as a person, not just like an athlete.
And I'll add to that, Kat, a good coach should coach the person, not should coach the athlete, not the event specifically. Like, every athlete, like, you could tell Faith to do 800 meters to help her, but like, I might need 400. I feel like a lot of coaches think that like, this is the plan, it's gonna work for everybody, when it's like, are you a good coach, or is your plan like what you're
Yeah,
really?
exactly. And last year I would train by myself because I needed stuff that others didn't. So I would always train by myself in the morning, get it done. And it was really that one-on-one where that he understood that I needed. And then like last year was my best year, so I can't really complain. So, yeah.
Batouly, what about you? Like, so most memorable coach, and it doesn't have to be college.
For me, my most memorable coach, I would say, had to be my first mentor, my first female coach. And I started playing basketball at the age of 12 years old. And from there, I only had male coaches. And I remember my first coach, you know, a Black woman. She's amazing. Her name is Shanae. And she just had this tenacity about her. And she created much more of an experience for us as a team, and allowed us to build a sisterhood through sport. And that was such an amazing point in my life. And you know, you always see the quote, you know, do it for the younger version of yourself. And she just created such confidence in me at such a young age that things I always revert back to is, you know, do it for your younger self, do it as Shanae did it for you, in the way she assisted you. So that was an amazing memory of my first coach. And now she's my mentor. I've known her for like 13 years. And when I came back and I moved, I showed her my jersey of Kentucky, and I posted it in my jersey at UConn, and I'm just like, what's the first emoji you would put for college? And she put roller coaster. She said buckle up, and I said literally that is buckle up. I was laughing because you go on that journey together, and I think our relationship has been organic, and so I'm so thankful for her.
Yeah, she was not lying when she said buckle up.
I said, what's
somebody told me that.
She said roller coaster emoji. I said, I've never seen anything more perfect in my life.
No, I walked in like this is gonna be a walk in the park. I said, "Oh no,
Girl,
I was wrong. I was wrong."
We were all wrong.
Wait, have you guys ever had female coaches?
My high school coach was a couple, a guy and a woman. So yeah.
Kat?
Yeah, my first college coach was a female. It's different. It's very different.
I've only had one female. Yeah, I've had one female coach, so who coached me directly. So at Villanova, we had Gina Procaccio, who was the head women's coach, but she coached distance. So we didn't cross paths a whole lot. But besides her, the only female coach I've had was my first year in high school. I went to a little private school, so they were just happy I was willing to run, period. So there wasn't a whole lot of like teaching, like even like the basics of track. It was just like, oh, she's competitive. I'm like, cool.
I feel like it's interesting though, because I feel like female coaches sometimes get away with stuff more than their male counterparts would. Because they're female. And Faith, I just read a part in the book that was just like, oh, like if she wasn't a woman, like get her out of here. So I definitely like, it just made me think like, damn, like they do get away with some stuff that their male counterparts might not, just because of the gender. Like if you're female, like if you're female and your coach is a female, there's some stuff that they could say or do that
That's true.
they'll get away with just because they're a woman.
So do you think, what is some of like the difficulty of like working as a female athlete with like a male coach? Do you think there's sometimes like a disconnect, or like what would be the issue there? Or has there ever been an issue that you guys have faced?
I feel like generally there's always like a little in the back of your mind, like a sense of distrust with guy coaches. Like I just have heard so many stories, whether from close people that I know personally or from like acquaintances of like people who take advantage of their position. So there's always that like, damn, like, can I really trust you for real? Mm-hmm. And I'll also add the general inability of guys to communicate. Of course, it doesn't apply to all guys, but I feel like women tend to have a better ability to communicate than their male counterparts. By no fault of their own, right? Socialization is socialization. But I think that's another piece. Like sometimes you just don't understand that part. I feel like if, as a guy coach coaching women, you don't take time to really understand the female anatomy. Like, okay, I'm bloated right now. I'm hormonal. I am not trying to run 800 repeats right now. Like sometimes you just need that grace. And not all guys are as good at giving you that grace as I think they would be if they understood the experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think at the point though, you have the women coaches who understand, and then they're like, unleash the fury.
There's that
Tap in. Be angry.
And it reminds me, this doesn't have to do with sports, but it reminds me of my first class at the University of Connecticut. It was a Monday morning, 8 a.m. class, Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. I take the wheel. I'm probably going to be late. And the woman walks in. She said, I defended my thesis while I was in labor. Don't be late to class. And I was like, you know, that was the standard. And she's like, and I delivered my children an hour later. So don't be late to class. And I was just like, why would you say that?
Now you have no excuse.
We're done. Oh my gosh.
That's such a strange standard to have for someone who is not yourself. Like, you know, well, I broke my arm and didn't cry, so you shouldn't either. Like,
Right.
Right. And I think the underlying factor of what she was trying to say is, I wish somebody was more thoughtful in that process for me. And I think that's an underlying issue of pain. And that's one of the biggest things I've asked coaches over and over again. How do you tell a good coach? And it's one who is mentally, emotionally, and physically prepared to coach you outside of their bias and to get them. And it's to say, this is my shared experience, and I don't have that for you, but that is it. So I think the underlying factor of that is not just it was done for me, that just signifies pain, but to say, okay, I'm outside of myself in this moment to help this athlete get to where they need to go. You know?
You have to have incredible emotional intelligence to be that person, and most people are not, sadly.
Right.
There's just not, like, who teaches people emotional intelligence? Most people don't. Like, I don't think there's a part in the coaching exam that's like, are you emotionally intelligent, right? Like, even though that's like, if you're a good coach, I feel like that's critical. Even watching, what's that Michael Jordan thing that we're watching? I was watching that with my fiance, and like, that coach didn't tell Dennis Rodman nothing, because he knew, like, okay, Dennis gonna be Dennis, okay, right, but he gonna come through and perform. And I feel like, again, like, you're coaching the athlete, like, you should know what can slide and what can't for other people. I mean, it may come off as unfair, but like, again, do you want the results or do you
right?
So yeah.
And do you want a position of power, or do you want actual change and your outcome that you want? Knowing your player's strengths and weaknesses. Like, you gotta depend which one you want. Do you want the power, or do you want the results? Because
some people are in it for the power.
Right.
Power dynamics are a hot mess. A hot mess.
Absolutely.
Well, on a more positive, is there anything? Is there anything that that a coach has like told you, or that they've taught you that you still like carry today? Like a lesson, anything that like you still hold on to?
I won't speak first. I'll let Kat go.
I think the one thing that I still tell myself, like almost every day, is that my coach last year, he would always say before a race, like, listen, you're Surin, you're gonna do it. You can do it. Like, you got this. So I just keep telling myself, like, listen, I've practiced for it, and now I'm ready. I'm Surin, like, I got this. So it's just kind of like, just stay positive, I guess, because I'm a very negative person. So I think that's it.
So you want to go?
Yeah. Oh, we both tag team on Batouly. Okay.
I don't think you're a negative person. I think we have negative feelings that we're comfortable with, and we are comfortable. We run to for security, but I don't think we're innately negative. I always think it's like what you feed yourself. Yeah. But in addition to that, I think my coach one time we were in practice, and he said, there is this thing in Coliseums. I've been so obsessed with the store. He told me it like 3 years ago, but I literally tell everyone, like, it's my store. It's not. But he said, there in the Coliseum, they'd have gladiator fights And there are some gladiators who were put into the ring, and they were put in there for entertainment purposes. They were put in there not to survive, and that was supposed to be their last fight, their last battle. And he said, but some people would fight so much so that the crowd would say that they should be able to live another day. That's how hard they fought. And he said, life is not about showing up in battles that you're supposed to win. Life is about showing up in battles that you are destined to lose and showing up anyway and putting up such a good fight that you live to see another day. And it was just like, yeah, and how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so how can I apply that concept of showing up to the interview, showing up, to a book launch, showing up in life when the cards may be stacked against me and fighting anyway, and having the courage to prepare for something that's out of my element. So something I would never forget.
Good for you. You better be that gladiator.
Right? I feel empowered now.
That's cute. So honestly, no. I will say that I am a bit of a strange creature in that you 2/3, Paris is in the chat too, know me. I am pretty tough-minded. I am pretty aggressive with my wants and my needs and just vocal about things that tick me off. So I don't think coaches typically had to emotionally coach me. The only incident was like my freshman year. I had pretty low iron, and like my coach insisted that I just wasn't working out when it was really like my health was like seriously in danger. At the time we had a white head coach, Coach Bill. He definitely he gave me a Joel Osteen book, and I'm not super religious or anything like that, but like I really needed that book, and it fell in my lap at the right time. It started me on the path of positive self-talk, which like I always did, but I never really did it in a specific daily way. So I think that book was one of the best things that a coach has given me, outside of the knowledge that my high school coaches gave me, just because it really taught me to speak positively onto myself with intention. And I think that coupled with my actual coach's practice of okay, we're gonna race tomorrow, everyone sit in a circle and talk out your race, right? The practice of visualizing yourself being successful. I think those two things were probably the best things that I ever got from coaches, because I still to this day use them. I am an avid meditator. I am an avid all right, today's gonna be a good day person. So personality coupled with those two things, I think those two things definitely were the best thing that I received from coaches. Even though the first coach I spoke about wasn't my coach per se, but that book it turned my college experience around. I was in a dark place. Yeah.
And for me, it was I was definitely really down at one point my senior year, because things just between a lot of the changes on the team, you're definitely aware of all those changes. It was just really tough, but I do have to thank Coach Clark, because he was the one, because he was training me at the time, kind of noticed I was acting differently and actually suggested therapy for me. And that was one of the first times that I really thought about professional help, and especially when you have that stereotype of being an athlete and you need to push through it, you need to just tough it out, put the negative emotions on the track, on the court, in the pool, whatever. But sometimes you just do need that outside assistance, and definitely not your teammates, because sometimes they could be the trouble. Sometimes you need the outside away from everything assistance. So I'm really just grateful for him for suggesting that. And it really just took away that stigma, just being a Caribbean woman, that stigma of going to mental health, getting that mental health assistance. Are you kind of crazy? Is something wrong with you? Do we need to watch you hard? It would help me to get rid of that stigma that even I carried even back then. So I'm very grateful for that. In terms of any really cool stories, I don't have a cool gladiator story but just that assistance was I'm really grateful for.
Coach Clark was great with like mental health and stuff. He always used to like talk to me in his office and just like making sure I was okay. He's a great coach.
Yeah, I think the transition from Bill Morgan to him was definitely rough. Yeah, me and Kizzy, we remember that. It was rough. And I think it was just strange timing, because he did really do give some good advice when need be. So
there's a question from a Kenneth Robinson. Actually, it's pretty timely because I've been seeing this discussion a lot on my timeline in regards to BLM. He said, just curious, did any of you ever consider an HBCU taking your talents there? Kenneth, if you haven't bought Faith's book, you should definitely buy it because it talks about HBCU. Shameless plug for Faith. I guess I'll go first. Honestly, I am Black Caribbean. Never necessarily felt, so I moved from the Caribbean to Brooklyn, New York. I've always been around Black people. I've always been around Caribbean people. Even in my schools in America, like my high school, my not primary school, my secondary school, they were all like Black people all the time. So my primary focus wasn't like, I'm gonna go to a school where there's no Black people, because I always had that. But I did really consider, like, I wanted my coach to be Caribbean. So that was really my only caveat. I didn't really care. I just wanted a full ride. And that was my primary thought process in terms of like choosing a school, which is, so I hope I answered your question, Kenneth.
For me, well, in Canada, we don't have HBCUs, so I didn't even know what it was. So that's pretty much it for me.
He said, I'm considering more in the sense of how much financial wealth you guys are generating for schools who generally don't always have your best interest in spite of your coach. I will say two things, Kenneth. The first is that women's track and field doesn't, I know it doesn't necessarily generate a ton of financial wealth for schools, but they sure as hell gave me a lot of financial wealth for myself because I didn't have to spend money. I will also say that there are other things to consider, right? There are things, I think it goes back to kind of being careful how you choose your coach, right? You should be choosing as carefully a coach who will take good care of you. For example, like I have teammates when they got injured, or ex-teammates like from high school went to college, when they got injured, that was it. They were clipped, it was done for them. My coach hated waking up before 8 a.m. Guess what? When I was injured, he was up at 7 a.m. in the pool with me. So I think you have to be careful about making it a general statement concerning that, because I think there are also things that come into play, like how much money does that HBCU have to properly support you and your athlete as an athlete and your potential goals. I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of like, oh well, HBCU is great, black people, all that stuff, that's wonderful, but I think you have to be careful about people's health, because a lot of times, like, you go to like and I'm not saying all HBCUs are like poor or anything like that, that's not my statement at all, but I think you have to be careful, because I know people who like go to track meets, they don't have any money, they're not getting fed lunch, they don't have any book bags, like it's sad. Like, do I want to, on top of worrying about classes and finance, be worrying about like being an athlete? So that's my piece on that.
Batouly, did you like ever consider an HBCU, or like, because I know basketball culture, there's some schools that you're just automatically like, yep, that's where I'm going.
It did. And I had the privilege and honor of my roommate in high school. I went to boarding school at the age of 14, and my last roommate, her name was Taylor. She was going to Howard for theater, and her mom went to Howard. So they'll just be like, HU, and I'd be like, like I went there, never did. Like, you thought I was there. It was serious. But I don't think I was even pursued by HBCUs. So I think that says something else of what they think, because you usually kind of, reach out to these players that you think you can get. And I think I genuinely would have considered it. I considered Princeton, I considered a lot of elite Ivy League schools for that sole purpose, because for me it was more than basketball in so many ways. So to think back to say, if I was pursued, would I have visited? Absolutely. I think I would have. But did I know about HBCUs? Of course. So right next door, we had Sally who was Spelman. So it was like, I thought I was in HBCU already in the hallway in our dorm, but it was much more about, the rich history. So I would say, no, I loved it. I loved everything about it. But in terms of sport, I never thought about it.
And I also add to that too, like there are, Keith, over 100 HBCUs, but imagine how many Black athletes there are. I think it's extremely, I think you can't just pigeonhole yourself into an HBCU just because you're Black. Like I wouldn't tell someone like only work somewhere because you're Black. So I think there's a much larger conversation. I definitely think we can't unpack that conversation in an hour-long Zoom call. But I definitely think that you need to. I think that people should extend a little bit more grace for athletes who don't choose HBCUs, especially where the funding is considered.
So for me, I didn't have much of a knowledge about just like track and field in general. I went to a really small all-girls school, so again, just the even thought of like going to continue my track career outside of high school was just like very rare, to say the least. I might be one of the few or the only, I'm not sure. So it was really just kind of following somebody else's footsteps, to be honest. I definitely wish I had did more research just about track and fields and what to even look for. But I knew somebody who was from New Jersey, who went to Villanova, and I just kind of was like, well, that's a familiar face, so I'm gonna go there. Not the best decision. I will openly.
That's really what you did?
Yep.
Did you at least like visit the college?
Yeah, I did. And I do, and I did like some of the research, looked at like the school rankings and things like that. But I was really just looking at numbers. I didn't know what to look for in a coach. I didn't know what to look for in a team. It was not the best decision, but it was like based on what little I knew at the time. Looking back, knowing more information, I definitely would have considered HBCUs from the start. But I mean, I got to meet you guys along this path.
You did.
So
yeah.
I can never say like I would never do something again, because it got me
work out together, die on the track together,
cry together.
Right.
Honestly, Batouly, like meeting you at UCONN Collective Uplift was like just such a relief, because I met you at such a great time.
It's so beautiful how trauma bonding exists in college. You struggle. Me too. Let's be friends.
Yes.
But then it's beautiful because you also share your triumphs. So you talk about Kat and how she has an amazing career. You're like, I saw you work every day. So you feel it a little bit deeper, and you have, such amazing and long-lasting relationships. So when I saw you at CU, I was like, Faith, yes. Yeah, I said.
So, like, in terms of handling the stress of being an athlete, how did that play out romantically? Like, did you guys even get involved in like romantic relationships, or like, was that something like, look, I got my game, I got my meat, I don't got time for that?
Let me start. Much to say, but I just feel like people in college are just not serious. I mean, most of them, like my experience with guys in college, or like athletes in general, they're just not serious. They just like messing around with a lot of people. So yeah, like I remember I came to practice crying because this guy just broke my heart. Like it was just like a whole mess. So yeah,
I didn't
have a good experience in college.
I'm sorry, Kat.
I would say for me,
you should have gave me the details. I would have rolled up in my squad, Now I roll. A shank or two, a broken kneecap,
You too excited for that, Kizzy. I'm concerned.
I am a bit of an outlier in that I have been in a relationship since I was in 8th grade. So I carried my spouse with me. Like he also ran track in high school. He went to UCONN and he ran track there the first 2 years. So I was lucky enough to have a spouse that understood what I was going through, even though he stopped after a while. I could cry sometimes too. I could complain too sometimes. Also would tell me like, you know, you're BSing, you know, you're better than this. So I think it's possible. I do think that, again, it goes back to that like emotional maturity thing, right? Like you have to be incredibly like emotionally mature. You have to be incredibly like willing to not be able to hug and kiss and do all the things that, you know, hormonal 20-something-year-old would want to do all the time, especially if you're like going into the peak of your season. So it was definitely tough sometimes, especially being apart. I don't think it's impossible. I just think that you have to be very careful and specific with your energy. And if you're going to choose a partner, you have to choose a partner that's going to be supporting and helpful as possible. So you don't need someone adding any more stress on top of like financial worries if you're not like a full funded athlete, academic worries, injury worries, right? Like the last thing you need is someone like trying to hit it and quit it, or trying to like make you feel less than what you actually are.
I think that question is so important. You know, everybody loved loving basketball. And when I first watched it, I hated it. I hated it because when she was having a successful career, he left, and that was selfish. And everyone is like, loving basketball, I want that relationship. No, it was toxic. And she should have went and found better. Mm-hmm. And I realized in college that will happen a lot. So when Kat said, you have to protect your energy and you need to find someone who understands. For me, you know, playing at such a high stage where every day, you know, you're expected to compete. Every day you're supposed to be on your P's and Q's. I couldn't focus even on anything else. And so, so if it wasn't somebody, even if it was family or my sister called me to complain, or, you know, I just had an argument with my friends, that weighs on you. And I had to get to a point where it was like, you know, I had a little trash can right before practice. Whatever happens in life is having this practice, because that only makes you feel worse. I already had a bad day, and now I have a bad practice. Right. It's like, what else? And then you get like a 20 on your exam, and you're like, what am I gonna do in my life? You know, because that's how it comes. It comes in forms and it multiplies to test you in life. And so for me, you know, in whatever relationship, I feel like, are you trying to get like, oh, whoa. Right. Well, then what are we doing?
Right. What are we doing?
But it was always with that at the forefront. And that was, well, would you understand my schedule? Do you understand the 30 projects I have going on this moment? And are you trying to get married yesterday or not? Like, what we love it. You trying to get married yesterday or what? Like, what's going on? And, you know, they run away pretty quickly after that. They're like, oh, she's crazy. Right. She's crazy. For me, if I want to talk to you, this is something I said, hey, call me at 8:10. 8:10, I have about 20 minutes to talk. And tell me a line of what you want to talk about. What's your intentions? It's an interview. It's an interview. But then you have the guys who call you at 8:07. I said 8:10. They call you at 8:12. I said 8:10, sir.
Okay, coach.
Ladies, don't take advice from me.
I'll definitely add too, though, if you do decide to like pursue a relationship, you have to be able to compartmentalize. Like exactly like she said, like you can't go into practice like this. Have me yelling on the phone for an hour today. Like I don't want to hear you. Like no, that like you said, like that been like I'm good at compartment. I'll be like, all right, well that was an hour ago. This is now. So you definitely will, like, you have to have that ability.
Yeah.
I think.
But it's hard.
Do you think it's harder for like female athletes compared to males, or you think it's just the same? It just kind of depends on the person.
Well, it's a lie when people say men are less emotional than women. The biggest lie.
You don't think so?
That goes right up there with, oh, girls gossip more than guys. Man, listen.
Men are emotional.
Yeah, no, they're trash.
all the tea really comes from the guys in your life. I'm telling you this. But I definitely think it is a character thing, because some guys are good at communicating emotions, right? And like some guys are trash. It's the same way some women I know like can't communicate for anything. Like 2 + 2 = 4. It's not that hard to say it, but some people just don't have that ability, or like weren't trained or weren't socialized to have that ability. So I think it's character based, but I do feel like it kind of skews more to women, just again because of socialization, not necessarily because of like how you are.
For me, it's like frustrating. Even like talking to guys even who aren't athletes, as soon as they hear, oh, you do a sport, I was like, yeah, I do track. It's always like, oh, I bet you I could beat you in a race. That always, I know it's supposed to be like cute banter, but to me that always was just like, I don't know, like me going to an artist and be like, I bet you I can beat you in drawing. Like, even though like you don't know my experience, you don't know like my qualifications, you may not have qualifications. I always felt, I don't know if that's the competitive side of me or just kind of like, yeah, don't step up to me in my craft. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I feel like people have this, I don't know, I always hear like, oh yeah, I heard that track girls are wild and they're easy. Like I always heard that in college.
We run in different circles, Kat.
What? You've never heard that?
I mean, I had like 2 friends, so maybe that's why. I don't know. Like no one really spoke to me.
It was like me, Kizzy, and Audrey would pop in every once in a while, and we were in the cut. Like that was the phrase that I used.
I would hear track girls are wild, track girls are easy, track girls are rude, they're aggressive, all types of stuff.
Tragic.
Well, no comment. No comment. Period. Just no comment.
So I mean, we just kind of unleashed a lot of our stresses. So like, what was like the most stressful part about being an athlete? Was it the dating? Was it the training? Was it the school? What was like the hardest part?
Everything at once. It was like, this is the craziest days of my life. And it's just a culmination of things, like having to balance everything at once. But I would say it was just, yeah, I think for me it's just a combination. I can't just choose one because it just seemed like they worked well together. Like they just had to move as one in many different ways. But yeah, I would always say the hardest part is always fighting yourself from your desires, from what you want, from any kind of laziness. It's just every day choosing that day. I think that's always the hardest part of anything in life. Like you wake up in the morning and having to make a choice of who you want to be and
right.
how you want to be.
I would say mental stability, and I mean this in the least snarky way possible. Especially if you're injured, I think there's just that constant like, am I going to lose my scholarship? Damn, like I didn't run well this day, or like damn, like a lot of everything happening at once kind of like, for lack of a better word, F's with your mind. I think there definitely needs to be things in place to help athletes like maintain mental health. Like you fixate about things like your weight, you're fixating about your like other teammates who are competing against you. You're fixating about like the entire country because you're competing for one of 16 spots. You're like fixating on yourself. Like, okay, like if I spend 10 more minutes doing abs, and I like it's very easy to fall into anxiety. It's very easy to fall into like negative self-esteem. I think you have to be extremely, extremely strong to like not fall into those traps. And there are coaches and there are teammates and there are staff members who will encourage you falling into those traps, not even realizing that's what they're doing. So I think I wouldn't say I suffered as much as some people that I know, but I definitely feel like there is a lot of room to grow in athletics, more specifically college athletics, in terms of like helping athletes maintain good mental, emotional health.
Yeah, I agree. Because I remember I would always think that because I got a full scholarship, I had to be the best at everything. I had to win every race, like everything. I had to be the best at practice, in meets, whenever, like I would just do abs. I would be the first one on the track, the last one on the track. So I would be stressed every single day. And then at one point I would push myself so much that I would just have like a whole mental breakdown and I had to take a few days off. So I think that was for me the hardest part about college. Is just like I was so tough on myself just because I had a full scholarship and I had to like prove myself. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
How did you know, or like, how did you learn when you reached that, I'm about to hit that breakdown? So like for me, like I always knew, like, one, it showed in my times, but it also just showed like I would just randomly like snap. And I knew like, okay, something's wrong. And that's when I knew to like either pull back somehow, either like just take a break from the team or just find some way to take a break. So how did you guys learn like where that like I need to chill moment was?
I would say my high school coaches, they were pretty intense about like, if you're hurt, stop. Like if you're hurt, stop. We're not pushing past pain because and pushing past pain for the sake of pushing past pain. Like not necessarily like, okay, we're doing this one more set just to get you ready. It's like, oh well, your hamstring's hurting, do 2 more. Like it doesn't make any sense. I think my high school coaches did a good job of kind of training me to recognize that rest was important. And I mean rest in all facets. Like if it's an off day, it's a hard off day. Like there is no, well, I'm gonna do some run throughs or anything like that. So I definitely would say my high school coaches.
For me, like I'm still trying to figure it out.
That's fine.
Basically, I'm trying to do better, but every time I feel like I just hit a wall and it's just like at that point it's too late. So I recently just started to talk to someone for my mental health. So hopefully that will work when I start practice and like meets. So I'm still working on that.
A way to invest in yourself. That is key because you are the best investment for yourself. And I think for me, I go through checklists. I love routine. I told somebody the other day, I began to fall in love with the mundane because I noticed the birds. I'm like, that's a new bird today. You know, you gotta. Everybody says, fall in love with the process, trust the process. But I want to stay present through the process. I didn't want to just run through it. I want to stay present in every moment and be in myself. And so I love routines. And I had to get to a point where I was burning out way too much. Like I started my nonprofit in 2017 as a junior, going into my junior year of college. It's a big transition. I'm now choosing a major. Different things are happening in my life, and I had to start checking in the morning. And so I would do that through various subjects. Okay, what's going on in my life, and what category does it fall into? Is it the environment? I get very sad in the winter. I like to go outside. Is it economic? Probably is, because I wish I had money and I don't have what I want right now. But what category is it? What is in my control? And where is it coming from? Can I pinpoint this from? And what can I do? How can I pray about it? What can I do next that's in my control? So for me, instead of having routines, I had to check in, because some days I needed the large. So I needed the large coffee. Some days I needed the small. But if I was constantly on a routine, I'd never have time to check in. So I would really tell everyone, is it life? Is it school? Is it track? Is it my body? What can I control? And I think just out gets it out of your head and outside of yourself to the controllables. And now you can make actionable steps to get there. So I used to get there. I was already in the dorm, sleep at 2 p.m. Come on. So now it's
great days.
You said 2 p.m. Them naps save lives. Them naps are like a great meal that you're gonna regret. But it was those check-ins. It was staying present and checking in, and then feeding where it was necessary, and knowing who to call. Who can really support me in this moment? Who are my cheerleaders? Who can just listen without me talking? People just
like really true friends are important.
I don't know if I'm a true fan to Kat, but I definitely sat through some talks, or I've definitely yelled at her for an hour.
I remember I practiced.
You know that girl, like, why are you? That's how I am. As like, I talk to myself that way. So like, whenever I talk to teammates, I'd be like, "Yo, Kat, like, don't."
Yeah, I remember.
Because you gonna be sick. Like, but I do think like having someone, like, just be like, "Yo, like, I'm about to fall apart." and them being like a good support or just listening. Because sometimes you don't want anybody to tell you, oh, you're that person, you're so great.
Right.
Just shut up and listen to me.
Yeah.
And if any of you are in that situation still, I definitely, I feel like part of what we have to start practicing is saying what you're looking for before you enter a conversation.
Thank you.
So like if you just want to rant, be like, listen, I just want to rant for 30 minutes. Just listen. I think that's something that I've been trying to do more. I don't think I'm great at it yet, but definitely a practice worth having. Especially because I'm that person that's like, yo, don't worry about it. Like you're great. Like I just need to be like, what are you looking for right now? Yeah.
Just to add, first of all, for all my Northerners, like that winter depression thing is real. It is real. Being in Connecticut, we know, because it was 50 degrees when we graduated in May. Okay, so it's cold all the time. So yeah, definitely be even more like be hyper aware of even things like the season. So it may seem like everything's great around you in terms of like your relationships, but if you're still feeling down, just you got to be open-minded to other factors, which is something that I wish UCONN would put in their brochure, but they don't. So it was rough. I was down for like, it was like December to like March. I was down and I couldn't figure out why. But no, it's a thing. Winter sadness is definitely
yeah. And if you're a Black person on the East Coast or the North, like get some vitamin D. I promise you, like you need to be taking that supplement. I promise you. Well, I mean, if you have a doctor, go to ask your doctor first. I don't want to kill anybody. But like it's over the counter. It impacts your mood. It impacts like your ability to feel fatigue. Like it's like if I get off that or if I like finish and don't re-up, like my mood drops so drastically in the winter time, like it's insane. So definitely something worth looking into if you're a person of color in the Northeast.
So what is y'all current break then away from, or even back in college? Like what was y'all break away from like the sport? What did you do that was just totally off? Or did you have one? Like hobby or club or station?
I don't really have a hobby, and especially in Connecticut, there's nothing to do.
I disagree.
So I would literally just drive my car to Walmart and that was it.
That's why you were so miserable, Kat. I am a firm believer, and I think once I hit my junior year, I really started telling any freshman coming in, like, you need to find a community ASAP. Because if all you have is athletics is never, almost like 98% of the time, not gonna go your way. And when the one thing you have doesn't go your way, everything feels like it's falling apart. So I'm big on writing, so I joined like several writing groups. I would like go to poetry ciphers. I would be trying to rap. Like I would just be doing like, and I am not social at all, but something just like really pushed me to like find a different community. Like I think it's really, really key, especially like you just don't know, teams have drama all the time. Sometimes you don't want to be in the space where there's drama or where there's people who like crying, who you're sleeping with. And not to say that that's not to say that is everywhere, but I feel like you really need to have more than one community, not just in college but in life. So I was part of a magazine committee. I was part of like a poetry club. I was part of a book club for UCONN who like made their like literary review. I really did try and like find different groups that I could just be like, they don't care about what I run. They don't care about how my app looks. They don't care about like the meat and 2 weeks. They just care about like writing something that maybe so I think if and Kat, now is the good time to find a hobby. And I think I'm guilty too of like trying to perfect my hobbies. I'm really into photo editing, and I had to pull myself back. Okay, like I don't need to monetize my photo editing. This is just something for me to do for fun, for distraction, for just emotional relief, beside like me binge watching The Office for the 7th time. So yeah, I think just find something that you're not good at, but you just like doing. And at the very least, it will just make you feel good to do that thing.
Batouly,
hobbies, it was always planning the next. So I I like to plan a lot. I had like 6 calendars in the apartment. I had like 3 whiteboards, and I would just be planning. That was one thing I loved. I think in college, you can really maximize your resources if you know what's around. So what did that look like for me? That looked like going into the school of business. Hey, you know how to create a business plan? Let's talk. Hey, you know how to do this? Teach me how. I wanted to pick up new skills. Because I got to a point, I think it was in my junior year, where I became very self-conscious. I was like, I had the soft skills, or what can I actually do? What can I actually plan? And I realized separation lies in execution. What can I actually do from beginning to end? Whether it was big, whether it was small, and how can I do that? And so I would just try to learn as much as I can. I would go to a bunch of discussions, talks, go to the school of web design. Hey, can you build a website for me? How do you build a website? Teach me how to do that. What do? You journal? Teach me how to, do you want to write something for me? And I was, I hope no one sees this, but I was really working with these people to really help me start post-college. You know how to write this? Write this for me. Projects. And so I would just be networking with these college kids, and I would just buy them like Dunkin' Donuts. And I'm like, here, like, do something for me, please. Kids would do a lot for Dunkin' Donuts, And so that was a huge thing for me. I was constantly planning for that transition, because at Collective Uplift, that's the biggest part we talked about. And I was so scared of that transition. And it's crazy because even with all the preparation I felt I had, the transition is still difficult. I'm 2 months post-college and it's still difficult. And I feel like I did everything I could to prepare, and it's just still tough. But that was one of the things that I constantly was like, nah, it won't be me. I got to move out. I'm home and I'm just like, I still have to move out, I constantly thought about, what can I do for the next? How can I grow women in empowerment, the nonprofit? Who can I connect with? Where can I go next? That was constantly what I did on my off days.
I definitely wish I had that type of networking, like back in college. Especially when I first transferred, it was definitely like all about the team. Actually, yeah, it was pretty much all about the team. My senior year, I didn't have much of a hobby aside from watching Beyonce videos with Nyanka. Especially junior year, and then senior year, I really just kept to myself. So it really wasn't till grad school, when I got to be a part of the UCONN Collective Uplift, and I really got to like branch out, is when I really figured out like you really do need that other community, because it was tough, and especially there was some drama on our team, so like it was hard to escape that, and it was tough for like that senior year. So I'm really super grateful for UCONN Collective Uplift, because that was definitely the first time I really found the community completely separate from track and field.
Yeah.
The takeaway, kids, is to find a community. Do not be on an island by yourself with a bunch of people that can literally drive you crazy. Even though you might love them, it's still nice to be like, I could step over to this other island and just like talk about anime for 3 hours, and like we'll ask about like how I competed. So definitely, yeah. Do it for yourself.
All right, so last one. I'm a book person, and we've got like 2 other writers here as well. Kat, we're gonna force you into writing apparently, because you're writing now. But like, so were there any books that got you through college? Did you even have time to read, to be honest?
Relentlessness and The Alchemist, and The Holy Quran. The word is great, but I love Relentlessness. It was just this attitude of just sheer, I'm going to get it, period. And I needed that, especially when you go from the transition of being a freshman. And I just remember I was having such a tough workout. Oh my gosh. I was having such a tough workout, and I was really sad my freshman year, and I lost like 45 pounds in 3 months. It was crazy. And I was and then I was not doing well in like a conditioning workout, and one of the girls, she said to me, this is what you chose. You can leave. And in that moment, it was like funny, because it kind of freed me. Like, I can really leave,
Yeah.
I can really just walk away. But it was where she's like, you chose this. And that's what kind of that relentlessness was about. It's from Michael Jordan's trainer, Tim Grover. And he just talks about, how do you get that mentality of just overcoming virtual reality and training to that point. And when you talk about pain, like that's when your breakthrough is coming, and how do you continuously get to that point? So that's your new standard. So that book took me to such a new level. The Alchemist, just saying, God, this is what you have good for me? This? Okay, I trust you. Pretty much.
So I am a big reader, as you can see by my giant, one of my 2 bookcases. I need a third, but I refuse to buy one. I've read so many books, I can't remember like one book beside the Joel Olsteen book that I got, I think, the end of my freshman year or the beginning of my sophomore year. And I spoke earlier about like it giving me the direction and ability to think more intentionally about speaking positively onto myself and my practices. Other than I think I leaned more on music and TV than anything else, just because it was easy. Like I could download a Netflix show on the bus to the track meet, and like have a good laugh before I get onto the track. I could put on at the time Kanye wasn't hated as he is now, my Kanye, Rihanna, Nicki mix, right? Like those 3, like I'm in the zone. Like you're not warming up better than me. You're not better than me in anything. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think those things like TV and music played a bigger part in like my college journey outside of that one book. But yeah, I just read way too many books in college to even remember like any other one beside that Joel Olsteen book making a big difference for me.
Oh, well, I finished 1 book in 4 years in college.
It's finishing.
And it was a track book. So it really helped me because I could see like, I think it's called Coaching Evelyn. And I really liked it. Like I was surprised because I don't really like reading. But basically I could see her struggles, and I could go to me and say and think like, okay, she went through it, so I can do it. Like there's nothing I can't do if Evelyn did it. So I think that helped me in my last year of college. But that's the only book I read in college, which is kind of sad.
Man, everybody has their thing.
Yeah, reading is not it. I tried, but
You just to me, it's like you got to just find that right book, and
yep.
Because there's so many out there, and you think like, okay, well, as an athlete, I need to get all these self-help books and to really get yourself in the mood, but sometimes they just don't click. So I actually did read Relentless. I did like it. It is great, especially because it has so much basketball in it. It's nice to kind of get that motivation, but learning about a different sport as well. The Alchemist is my favorite. I love that book. I've read it like 3 times. It's like this big. But I mean, fantasy got me through, at least as a kid, because I was awkward as all else, and I'm still awkward as all else. So fantasy, this idea of like being able to like, yes, you're weird, but you can escape to this whole nother world was like the perfect idea for me. So in terms of finding a book, this is for Kat, this is for anybody who's like watching. It's kind of just like Google search, like what space are you in right now? And that motivational book could be fantasy, because The Alchemist isn't really like a classic self-help book. It's a story. It's a general fiction story. It's just it has a lot of great, insightful comments in it. But it's a story. That's what I loved about it.
To that phase, like anime is kind of that for me. Like I didn't really read manga in college, but I watched a lot of anime, and like every protagonist, they're like super weak. They're like, I'll never beat this guy who killed my entire family. Then they train for like 2 days and they come and they're killing everybody. I'm like, yes, I could do that too. Like I could kill everybody in the track. You really have to like try, like you have to find your thing. Like it's really just like I'm sure people who are like anime, like I'll never read that. But like I think February, like I had a lot of like terrible like skin problems, and I stumbled on this anime called Haikyuu, and it's like an anime about volleyball, and volleyball players are typically tall, but the protagonist is really short. And I tell you, he came up on that court and he was blazing. I was like, yo, I can succeed in life. Like, I can do it. Like, just be patient and practice. So like, I feel like you really have to like find that book or find that show or find that podcast that like really just makes you feel like you could kill that giant. Like, you can do that thing. If that's The Alchemist, great. If that's Finding Evelyn, great. If it's some anime about some blonde-haired volleyball player who's too short, then whatever. But like, it's out there, and you just have to try different things.
Drops mic, because you said that. You said that.
Oh, someone asked, what podcast do y'all recommend?
I don't listen to a lot of self-help podcasts. I mainly listen to like a lot of music podcasts, because I used to write about music last year a lot. So I may not be the best person for motivational podcast recommendations.
I tried once, but it's just, the concept is just so weird to me, because I was listening to a podcast and I would literally just like stare at my wall, and I'm like, yeah, like, I cannot do this. Like, I need a visual.
You have to like do it like when you're cleaning or when you're like doing something that like you have to be busy,
like
but
I'm
you
doing something and I try, like, it's just, I don't know, like, I'm not paying attention.
I will say a lot of people put their podcast on a YouTube. So like, you could like try and see if there's a YouTube equivalent, because like they're trying to make more money and YouTube makes money. So a lot of people do put their podcasts, like have them in a room recording, talking to themselves on YouTube.
Oh, someone said you never listen to radio? No, I do not.
Bad.
I just listen to music.
I think Oprah Soul Sunday is dope. I really like Oprah Soul Sunday.
Oprah? So like Oprah the person?
Oprah.
Okay.
Yeah, Winfrey.
Actually,
I have a couple, and one of them is the basketball one that I really like. It's like coaching and strategy. Another one is I've realized I love every form of entertainment. Like, it's just podcasts. I don't know. I just like information, videos, TED Talks, commencement speeches, books. The only thing is I don't watch TV. So it's interesting. I do all these things, but I don't watch TV. I haven't watched TV since I was like 14. Like, to really sit there and watch it, I don't. But everything else is like, yeah. So a couple of those podcasts are huge. I would just look up any financial literacy podcast and just listen to that.
I'm gonna send Faith a link to an article I wrote on podcasts for Black people, so she'll post it. And
there's like one called Hey Girl. There's one called Therapy for Black Girls.
I love Therapy for Black Girls. I love that one. I listen to it.
It's called Therapy for Black Girls?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. There's so many. I'm thinking about other ones.
They're literally podcasts for everything.
Everything. There's one that's called Serial, and it just talks about serial killers and how they.
I've heard one of those.
I thought I might have heard that one.
I didn't know.
Some people like just tell like short stories that they write. Some people talk about sex. Some people talk about, like you said, serial killers. Some people talk about the prison pipeline. Like, there's anything you could think of. I'm sure there's a podcast out there for toes. Like, it has to be. They're just people just want to talk about stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm like Kat. It took me a while to really get into podcasts. My my girlfriend definitely does podcasts more than me. I just shared the link, Nyanka.
I don't think it's working. I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Yeah. So anybody watching, the link it to different podcasts for Black women down below, so you guys can get into the habit of podcasts. But yeah, so I got into Hear Her Sports, really good. I love the different guests that they have. Alicia Montano, the 800-meter runner, she has one with two other, yeah, she has one with two other track and field athletes, and it focuses primarily on track and field. They have one with Tiana Bartoletta as a guest, and it was really good. So yeah, I definitely focused more on the sports, but I am just kind of slowly getting into it. I do listen to some LGBT ones as well. Just because to me, it helps me just to like, find different communities. Yeah, and just learn about different communities. But yeah, it's a learning process for me because I was like you, Kat, at first. The idea of just like, why would I want to spend time listening to somebody else talk? Like, but it's things like Breakfast Club got me into it, and then from there I was like, okay, I can kind of do this. All right, so I'm opening up to like the last like couple minutes for you guys to have like anything you want to put a plug in for, any advice that you guys want to give, any like last minute, just don't take up your whole night. And we'll open up, like, if there's anybody here who has like a question, you guys can unmute yourselves. So, you know, if you got something you want to ask, like, let us know.
Tuli go first since she's leaving.
Yeah, forgive me. Follow me at Tuli, TOOLYYY. The extra Y is because I'm extra. And wait, W_A_K_E_, just so you're dedicated. And that's my Instagram page for my nonprofit organization. Please follow that. And if anybody needs my email, please feel free to contact Faith. My number, connect. Please feel free. This was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And to everybody who's fighting for something, you have everything you need.
Could you put her name spelling in the chat, Faith, please? And it was a pleasure having you, Tuli. Enjoy your night.
So bye, Tuli.
Bye. I appreciate y'all. Let me just put my whole name. I hope it doesn't delete when I leave. Let me also put my nonprofit Instagram.
Tuli Batouly.
TOOLYYY.
Yeah. All right. Take care, y'all.
Oh, I spelled it wrong.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So, any questions? Any plugs?
Yeah, I guess follow me at Nyan, NYANNOIRE. I'm pretty funny. I cook a lot of food. People seem to enjoy my Instagram food videos. Today was a very soothing morning. So yeah, if you like food and you like people talking about random stuff that they care about, follow me. I'm also on Twitter. It's the same handle on Twitter as well.
Your YouTube is Nyanka.
It's the same thing. Nyan. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Branding, baby.
Yeah.
They're in the bottom. That's it for me. Yeah.
Okay. Kat, any plugs? Any?
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. My name is Kat Surin, so KATSURIN. And I guess my advice is to listen to your body, listen to your mental health, and stay positive.
I have an advice too. Get a hobby that's not stressful.
Right. No, honestly, I really do need to get a hobby. I tried, but it's just like when I'm not good at something, I'm just like, why am I doing it? So then I just quit.
Fun. Have some fun in your life. Everything's not supposed to be.
Actually gonna try. Like next week I'm gonna get to it.
I'll just like text you randomly. Do you have a hobby yet, Kat? Judgment face.
Yeah, that's gonna be all your texts from now on, Kat. Like, no more highs, no more what's up. What's your hobby? Did you find?
Do you doing more abs? Is that a hobby? But yeah, that's it for me. The floor is open.